Give us any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rule, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true.
Welcome to Navtastic, podcast about 8 seasons in a row. I'm Mr. Fernandes, and
I'm Chris Jayawardena. Hello.
and we're reviewing Welcome to Burbank, the second episode of season 6 of Laverne Shirley. It's directed by John Tracy and written by Jeff Franklin. I bet you Chris has got some facts about them. Don't you, Chris?
Yeah, we'll see about the John Tracy there. For Jeff Franklin, I'm still having to do a little more research on that. He's got plenty more episodes coming up. We got time.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of time. We got a ton of time. Here is what the episode is about. The girls settle into their frankly quite swank new apartment. They see Frank and Anna for the first time since they've moved, and Laverne receives a guitar from them. They meet up with Sonny St. Jock, building manager, and a local stuntman, after he pitches himself from his balcony to the ground below. They meet Rhonda Lee, the snobby and slightly selfish B-level actress who lives next door. Everything seems to be peachy keen for both girls until two terrible events occur nearly simultaneously. An earthquake, and them learning that Lenny Squiggy has signed a 3-year lease on the apartment next door, which is connected to their place via a doggy door. Will they turn tail and go back to Milwaukee, or are they California girls forever? Well, what'd you think of this one?
Well, I'll say this. I really did not expect to like Sonny as much as I did.
Yeah. I was actually surprised by how much you liked Sonny.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people seem to consider him to be bland.
I guess what it is I've known people like him.
Yeah.
I've known actors and stuntmen that are like him, and he really captures those qualities that I like. That very friendly, chipper.
Yeah.
One of the things that's kind of cool is when you have very professional stunt performers that are very like cozy and personable.
Yes.
They also are really good with social boundaries. I notice. Like they're like like a good professional colleague is like somebody that like. They're not going to overstep. They're that's that you feel comfortable with them. And I guess that's what it is. Sonny is the type of character that I would feel comfortable hanging out and working with.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a nice guy. So what did you think of Rhonda then?
I mean, va-va-voom, but, and I mean, I did have to sigh and roll my eyes and go, Jeff, with the whole, she's in the,
negligee.
She's in the negligee that like practically hints she's naked underneath.
Yeah.
And then it comes off and there's the swimsuit.
Yeah.
But that being said, what I think I love about Rhonda, and I do like her as a character, what I love about her is what she brings out of Laverne and Shirley, because they are fierce at her and wrathful in a way that is. And this especially comes up in episodes 3 and 4. It's episode 3 especially.
Yeah.
And so but she brings an energy out of them that's incredible, and I love it.
Yeah, they want to be like her, but they also resent her snobbiness and her refusal to include them in her life, while also making demands on their resources, so to speak. So.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Like, what was it? The bit about the ice trays?
Yeah, the bit about the ice trays. Eventually, she starts using their apartment to tan in. In a couple episodes, it's just like it's a Rhonda thing where she's just popping on in like the boys used to, just to steal food out of the fridge.
Right. Exactly. And like I almost kind of hope that at some point that Rhonda is going to be there trying to to grab something out of the fridge, while at the same time Lenny Squiggy like, hey, we stake claim to that. We stake the claim to that from Milwaukee. We got seniority, and we're not going to have you be moving in on our territory.
That doesn't quite happen, but because they're kind of a little bit too admiring of her boobs, so to speak. But things do develop in an interesting way. I want to say that Rhonda does develop in an interesting way. She finally becomes a character like in the middle of the season.
Oh, that's good.
She starts taking on different layers and becoming a little bit more complex. Especially in season 7. Season 8, she starts to have to take up more of the obvious narrative slack. Ugh. So the show doesn't really prefer to lean on her for that, which is a shame because Leslie Easterbrook is very talented.
Oh yeah, Leslie is fantastic. It's going to be hard to like It's going to be a little hard to go deeper onto Leslie's career, partly just because she's done so many kind of different things,
Yeah.
and she's is still active today, even
Yeah.
in like micro budget stuff.
Yeah.
But she takes this kind of bonehead bimbo role, but treats it with the realism that when you deal with Hollywood types, or I guess stardom types, she really wants to. My mom put it really well that she wants to be the celebrity,
Yeah.
and when people are really driven to become a celebrity, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about Rhonda as well, is that
Cutthroat.
she comes off as like, oh no, I'm such a
Yeah.
bimbo, and I don't know how big my boobs are and how hot I. No, she's not. She is
Yeah.
completely in control of exactly what she's doing.
yeah.
She knows exactly every moment.
There is a great moment where that happens in season 7. Oh, you're gonna learn some things about her. That's really cool.
Oh, that's great. Because I mean, it even is down to the point that the way that she's like practically flirting with Shirley and Laverne, like it's. I mean, because that's the thing. It comes off not just like as a power game. It's flirting to try to get them off guard. Like, I don't know if well, they're two women living together, so maybe they're lesbians,
possibly.
and so she's trying to like suss out, kind of get them hot under the collar, and therefore, if I can I then get favors out of them and get work out of them and get kind of get them to do things exactly.
Yeah, and then of course when she thinks the boys and the girls are two couples, she definitely has to make a point of pointing out that they're well suited to each other. She says that more than once, that Shirley and Squiggy are well suited to one another, which is amusing. The two of them.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to how they reacted to each other and reacted to that later. Right.
Yeah. Her reaction to the dependable shoes. Yes.
Yes. Everything else. We get another musical edit to start this episode off, by the way. The original underscoring to this is a vocal version of Hooray for Hollywood that sounds like it was done by the Starland Vocal Band, but it's not them. But it sounds like them. Instead, we just get generic music, which you said you found soothing and you liked, if I remember correctly.
Kind of, yeah. There was something, I don't know, it's peaceful B-roll. I'm trying to remember, this was so many weeks ago we watched the episodes, I probably was stressed out of my gourd about some other thing or another.
In the broadcast version, in the version that's a syndication, you hear Hooray from Hollywood, the first 2 verses of it, and the chorus.
Which is interesting. I think my mother may have actually made a Hooray for Hollywood joke when we started watching this, so that's funny.
She's got some Kreskin going on there. She knows what's going on. You actually get to see Michael drive that ice cream truck on screen.
Very shocking.
After years and years of them faking it with the Shots beer truck, he actually drives that truck. He finally got his driver's license. We actually know that he didn't have it in season 1 when the show was starting.
Because of various stories he told.
Yeah, and that David Lander told. David Lander told this great story about how he and Michael negotiated for extra stuff that they could get when the producers wanted to do the Lenny Squiggy spinoff in season 1. And he was like, they bargained them for parking spaces, and Michael goes, "Wait, I can't drive." He goes, "Shh. Don't tell him that. This is a power game here." He's like, "I can't use it. I don't know how to drive. I love a car."
That is an incredibly Lenny and Squiggy moment, isn't it?
Yes, I know.
But Squig, I can't drive.
At some point, he did get a car. At some point, he did learn to drive. Until then, I think he walked everywhere. He tells a lot of stories about how he was walking. And I know apparently, I guess that comes from growing up in New York. Just walk everywhere. But that's what he was doing until that point. David, however, was fiery and wanted his own freaking dressing room, and literally kicked down the door of Eddie's dressing room to get his own dressing room. Because Eddie was never there, apparently.
Oh, jeez.
That's a great story. He tells that story brilliantly. It's amazing. But he was tired of them being treated like a unit instead of 2 different people.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. They needed to have their own individual things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Their own individual space. So he left Michael alone in their dressing room and took Eddie's. I don't know where Eddie was. It's possible that Eddie was over at Blansky's Beauties at the time. It didn't matter. Back on track.
But yeah,
Yeah.
this is so first impressions. I think it's interesting. We were talking about it in the last podcast where the movement of getting into this new place, this new normal, it
Yes.
takes a while. And this
Yes.
is definitely an example of that because pretty
Yes.
much the entire episode
It's set up.
is just about moving. It's just about moving in.
Yeah. It's about them moving into the new apartment. It's about them meeting their new neighbors. It's premise, and a little tiny sliver of plot, so we can get some stunts in.
Right.
And remind you that you're watching Laverne Shirley.
And I mean, I almost don't know if I would call it a plot so much as I'd call it a scene. A scene
Yeah,
is not necessarily a
little plot.
plot. I would argue, as someone who has struggled with this as a short filmmaker, I can say I feel confident to be able to say a scene is not a plot, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
A temporary roadblock to their happiness. Let's put it that way.
Yes, temporary roadblock. Yeah, there you go. It is a complication.
Yeah, there you go.
But it is resolved within what, like 5 minutes?
A half a scene. It's not even full scene.
Yeah.
Like really. It's like we didn't pay for all these giant sets to have them leave immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Notice
All we
the
got to
thing-
do is just
Right.
remove that one brick and get a nice eyeful, and hey,
The fact that they're really excited to be voyeuristic with Rhonda is interesting in of itself. Like,
that poor thing. Something happened to that. The earthquake knocked that mirror up on the ceiling, and it got stuck there.
that is so innocent and so Shirley. I love that line. That is so Shirley. Laverne knows. Laverne knows.
Laverne knows. Well, she says, "I'll let you borrow my copy of Peyton Place."
Peyton Place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Valley of the Dolls. Are those in the Valley of the Dolls?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Valley
Sorry,
of
it was
Dolls.
Valley of the Dolls. You're right. I'll let you borrow my copy of Valley of the Dolls. Yeah, that's the one.
Yep. Of course she's read Valley of the Dolls. Of course she has. I can imagine Laverne being the biggest Jackie Collins fan, the biggest Jackie Suzanne fan. She read all those trashy books, and she loved the heck out of them. I can picture that.
So I gotta say though, can we get beyond the Valley of the Dolls though?
If we can get beyond Thunderdome, we can get beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Just gotta keep climbing up that glass mountain, as Jacqueline once said. Bless her soul. May her memory be a blessing as well. An upstairs bedroom, just like the Beverly Hillbillies.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite lines of the episode. That is one of my favorite lines of the episode. That's really good.
It is indeed.
And the girls discover stucco. They discover their veranda. They have their digs are very fancy here.
They're pretty
Yep.
fancy now.
Especially compared to living in a basement.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So when I watched this episode with my mother, who lived in LA during this brief periods during the 60s and a period during the 70s, she had an apartment in California in 1976, $125 a month.
Oh man, those
Yeah.
were the days.
And she was practically within walking distance of the Grauman's Chinese Theater.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, and think about, this was 10 years earlier than that, pre-Nixon and the gas crisis.
Wow.
So probably they were able to probably get a place pretty nice. So I assume then probably what would have been the struggle, which actually we do see in 2 more episodes actually, is the struggle probably was then more like finding a job, but finding a place. If you could get a decent enough place that was available,
Yeah.
it's probably. But yeah, it's grid digs. I mean, it even comes with its own plant.
Yeah. Little Stanley.
Yes.
The awkwardly gently dicey thing about them discovering that she gives him this very Irish name, and then she finds out it's a wandering Jew, and then she names it Stanley.
Yeah, that was a little
Dicey.
yeah.
Dicey.
Yeah,
Dicey. Jeff.
Jeff. Jeff. Yeah, we see you, Jeff.
We see you,
Don't think we don't see you.
Dicey.
We see you
shit,
and your
Jeff.
mole. And your mole.
Yeah. Moly, moly, mole. Okay.
That actually is my note after the Stanley yikes is Jeff no, which is
Jeff-
regarding Rhonda and which I think is referring to Rhonda and negligee.
Yeah. We were having so much fun in the dark. I mean, Frank and Edna.
Oh God,
Freaking
yes.
they're
Okay,
so
yeah. We
cute.
talking about Fredna. Gotta talk about Fredna.
They're so happy and adorable and incredibly horny here.
I love it.
There's California's kind of rejuvenated them and made them happier.
Mhm.
I told you we should have brought her that sombrero. They bring Laverne a guitar.
Mhm.
We're gonna get to the guitar in a second. But let's talk about Fred. how happy are they? How overjoyed are they? And it feels like all is new for them. All is fresh for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sweet to see. Love over 40 is a wonderful thing, as Shirley says.
And I was eyeing you the whole time while I was thinking about that. Mwah. Um, but yeah, it is very sweet to see this sort of rejuvenated passion that they feel, not just for, I mean, for each other especially, but even for their life. Like when we get a chance to actually
Yeah.
peek at how the new restaurant's going,
Yes.
it's very exciting. Like there's a freshness. Like he's doing what he loves, but he's doing it in a new way. And there's something that is like it's new challenges, it's stretching him, and he is up for it.
Yes, yes. Eventually, this becomes sad. Around season 7, season 8, he starts yearning for his pizza business.
Oh, great.
We'll tackle that. Something even newer happens to him. We'll get there. But it is interesting. But yeah, for right now, everything is fresh and new, and it's kind of lovely to watch them. They're trying really hard to convince the audience, no, this is a good thing. Everybody's happy. Look. Look, believe in this change. The gift discrepancy here. Oh, for their second daughter. Gary some maracas, and Laverne gets a guitar.
Yeah, well, Shirley definitely has that feeling of the younger sibling that gets left out sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So Laverne gets her guitar. Her guitar and her songwriting is going to be a recurrent element in the next 2 seasons. She's gonna kind of quasi try to make a go of it as a singer-songwriter folky. It doesn't really stick or last, but it's a recurrent plot element.
I figure at some point, she won't be able to get a gig, and she'll just be there standing on the corner, with a guitar.
Stretching that disorder and up in your gums.
We'll get there.
We'll get there soon, very soon.
I always feel a little bummed about the whole Laverne is a terrible singer thing.
Yeah.
It's I feel like what's good about it is like there is a sense of like representation of like do it because you love it, not because you're good at it, which is kind of sweet.
Yeah.
But it also feels like she's not trying, and it feels like we're just gonna make a joke of how look at how bad she is. Like no, don't do that.
The show, as we know, does address that eventually. It takes us a while to get to that point in season 6, but it does address it in the season.
That's true. Yeah, and leave it to Cindy to direct that episode.
Yeah. Cindy does a hell of a job. It's the only thing she ever directed. I don't know what that says.
Well, if we ever get a chance to, as of this recording, we haven't had a chance to talk to Cindy ourselves, but if ever the chance occurs, definitely I'm going to ask, like, have you thought about this, doing more of this? Because good job.
Yeah, good job.
We'll get there.
We'll get there eventually.
But anyway, there goes the guy falling by the window. It's I do love the exchange. It's okay. I'm fine. You sure are.
So they think he's trying to kill himself, but he's not, thankfully.
Right, thankfully, yeah. Having been around stuntmen, stunt performers on a set where they just like to just fool around, that happens.
Oh man.
I think I told you about this story. I was on a loading bay at a warehouse shoot, and this one stunt actor was like, okay, someone was going to do a fall, and so one of the other stunt guys, stunt coordinators, just does a test fall, and so he jumps off the loading bay like 10 feet down onto the pads to see how they're going. And me and the makeup artist see him do that, and I think I was aware the pads were down there, but she didn't know, and so there was this like moment for the both of us, and then and you hear this thump, and you hear his voice go, "Pads are good." So that moment in Death Proof where Zoe does "I'm okay" out of the bushes, that's totally normal.
Oh man.
And Sonny doing this, that happens. It's because I mean, think about it like this. It's like when you can do something cool in the kitchen, like you can flip the pancake, or you can roll the fork between your fingers or something. If you know you can do it, you're gonna do it.
Yeah. If you're gonna know it and you're gonna have fun, just go for it. Like, just go for it.
Yep. And you're safe, and you're not gonna kill yourself in the process.
Yeah, you know what you're doing, basically.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So in terms of like, as I said before, the first impression I got out of Sonny was like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
As a sweetness, I like his.
Yeah.
As Anthony, as Antonio the Amazing, he had to really put on a character.
Yeah.
Here, he's stretching himself just far enough to still be comfortable, but he's still playing a character.
Yeah.
So Ed does an amazing job.
Yes. This is what's going to lead him to a big role in Hill Street Blues.
Mm-hmm.
Which is gonna, make him quite famous. He never got any acting nods for that, but he got a lot of praise for his work on Hill Street Blues. So
yeah, he mostly stayed in TV through the 90s. He was like on Sisters, Champs, ton of TV movies. And yes, he was on an episode of Dream On. That's going to come up a lot.
Yes.
He's still acting, by the way. He was in Many Saints of Newark, and he was in a Christmas Unicorn movie last year.
Yeah, A Unicorn for Christmas. A Unicorn for Christmas is what it's called.
Why do I have the feeling you've seen this?
Because I have. He was also a semi-regular on Blue Mountain State, the which was on Spike for a long time. So people might recognize him from that.
Nice. But yeah.
Small things I know.
So anyway, so getting back into we're talking first impressions, we're talking about sort of going through the episode, the kind of different pieces. So the boys finally show up with their hello line.
We skipped over the Rhonda scene.
We talked a bit about Rhonda.
Yeah,
okay, well, all right. You want us to go through Rhonda?
No. I wanted to mention one specific thing. They introduced themselves with their names. Shirley Feeney, Irish Protestant Democrat. Laverne goes, Laverne DeFazio, Italian Catholic Teamster.
I did love that. I love that. Knowing the people I do know who are very political these days, there definitely is a difference between a Democrat and a Teamster now.
Let us go ahead.
I was gonna say the introduction is back on track. The introductions are adorable though, and
yes.
And what was it like? There's that bit about careful. Laverne's like careful. She doesn't have any bones in her hand or something.
Yeah. Oh, she even goes, "Are those real?" About Rhonda's boobs.
No. She said it was. She corrects. She says, "No, I was talking about her eyelashes."
Yeah, I was talking about her eyelashes. Like for those saying, that she can possibly be asking her that. Breast implants were invented in 1962, so this is possible. This is a possibility for her to be wondering if her tits are real.
Tits.
I love that Rhonda is a struggling actress with even worse prospects than the girls have. She's a dancing footpad in a Dr. Scholl's commercial.
Oh God, yeah. Which feels like that is referencing the. It's referencing how there's that bit in More Than Friends, and this happened to Penny as well. Are you the one with the you're the one with the good shampoo or with the dandruff? I'm the one with the dandruff. Yeah. She knew exactly what that was like. Dancing on that toilet tab in the TV movie and being the girl with the bad hair. Yeah.
That commercial, by the way, with her Farrah Fawcett is adorable.
It's super cute. Yeah.
It really is. It really honestly is. So enter the boys, like you said, with a lot dependable old shoes. Come on. Hello.
And then they have found Shangri-La.
The beach.
Yep.
They did have a swimming hole back in Milwaukee, so it's not like they didn't see bikini dressed girls before this, but apparently.
Yeah, but there's also a difference between one or two girls that you probably went to high school with, and that feels kind of weird versus versus California.
Yeah. Bikini dressed women.
The idea also, I think what it is that California, as part of the whole mystique of California, is always that the beautiful people go there, and that's what people do, and the people who are beautiful stay there, and so that's their whole thing, is like they're not the homely little Wisconsinite ladies. It's like, no, this is the Hollywood women. These are the women that are on television. And I do love Lenny's line.
Bodies.
Look, Squig, look, one of them leaked indoors.
That's a great line. Notice the boys' outfits. They will be dressing like this from here on out.
Not a fan.
Yeah, I like a lot of that, except when they decide to put Lenny in very classy suits for no reason, other than Michael looks good in them, which he does.
He does, but it
makes no sense for Lenny to own them.
Yeah, we'll talk about the outfits thing coming up, but it's part of the whole kids show gimmick of those two characters, and how it's like they're sort of like a TV logic of like, how do they afford any of these clothes? Because they keep changing their outfits. See, before it made sense because there was the wax museum, and they just knew so many people they could just borrow something from. And they would, I
You
mean,
could
probably
tell
what they would,
some of their outfits were coming from thrift shops.
yeah,
You
thrift
tell,
shops. And also some of what they were probably doing was just like, oh, well, I need a suit for tonight because I have a date. I'll give you 2 cases of beer off the truck,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That could be possible. And they were always renting tuxedos, and the boys did have like exactly two good dress-up jackets.
Mhm.
And Lenny's dress-up jacket got used a lot. There's gonna be a lot more outfit variety starting again, which again helps reduce the sense that everybody has no cash. They've lost the blue-collar feeling.
Yeah, which I guess is the goal. They want people to not look at them as poor or same old, or get confused about, oh, it's an episode I've seen already.
The weird thing about the California years is that retroactively people look at the show and go, "This is a bad move." At the time, it worked, so they doubled down on it. So
Right.
that's why it happened.
And even then, I know people. My DM for Dungeons and Dragons loves the California years. She
Right.
says that's their statement is it is the best years of the show, and like I will
So far, disagree.
yeah, we'll see. Well, I mean, we're gonna try to get Tracy on hopefully in the future, so we'll see.
We get deeper into the characters. We get deeper into everything. Things get better and more interesting along the way.
But do we find out whether Rhonda is correct that there really is someone for everyone?
In a way and not. The show does some strong hinting. She thinks that the boys and the girls are together. She goes, "Your dates are here," and there really is something for everybody. Watch their reactions. Shirley and Squiggy scramble apart in horror, and Laverne and Lady just kind of bemusedly look at one another.
I did notice that. But of course, you would notice that.
Yeah. You didn't? How did you not notice that? Did you notice that early?
I was probably writing down notes at the time in both cases, so that's probably why.
But there is total repulsion at this notion, but from Squiggy and Shirley, and meanwhile Laverne and Lady are like, eh. So they're not horrified by it. They start talking to each other quickly, which is like cute.
Oh. Anyway,
Yeah.
next scene though, we have got to talk about tuning the guitar to the gurgle.
I love that Laverne only knows her one chord, but damn it, she's gonna write a whole song about that chord.
Mm-hmm.
And
I still stand by Laverne was a punk rocker before her time.
Yeah, really, you only need 2 chords to play most rock music anyway. 2 or 3 chords, you got it. I love, and Shirley just can't wait for her to learn that next chord, even though she's sitting there writing a song about Sonny.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the earthquake.
The earthquake.
What do you think of how they staged this?
Okay, so that is gonna be interesting one to discuss. It's a huge bit of physical comedy. There's a lot of ins and outs. There's a lot of gags. I am not the biggest fan of the execution, and it might have to do with the fact that one thing that Tracy as a director seemed to do with the crew is he got a lot more coverage, except for this. And so because of the fact this is clearly being all done in one take, which is still very impressive, by the way, because I mean it creates all this great natural reaction from the audience. Penny has to get her head stuck in the wall, and then the bed to fall off, and all that. I mean, there are so many things they have to do. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how they exactly controlled the beds. My assumption is that it's either like it's like somebody like in a go-kart underneath the bed, dragging it around basically.
My guess is that they had a mock-up of the set, and they may have tilted it slightly, and the beds were just on rollers.
The catch with that is that the perspective of the whole room doesn't change. I would say I would agree to that, but mounting the camera to a support like that to do what you're recommending, which is like the old 2001 thing, that I would suspect that'd be outside their budget range even for the show with this jump. So it feels my thinking. It's like I said, this is one of those I'll have to watch it again and kind of do further study and and do the whole Zapruder film breakdown, back into the left, where it seems like the beds move, but the rest of the set is just being kind of shaken and stuff is getting released off of ropes and wires and things like that off the sides. Yeah,
it's possible. It might be. That might be. I just don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know either. It's totally I actually suspect it's probably somewhere in the middle of both, probably. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably a combination of effects. I'm very curious though. Very curious about how they did it.
yeah. But I do love, and I mean, they're having to deliver lines. These beds come with magic fingers. I don't think so. Then the swing low,
Yeah.
sweet chariot, and it's like, let's listen to the radio for some instructions of what to do. And then it's the same song, like, get ready to die.
Yep. Get ready to die.
What's funny is all the years in California, my mother did mention that it never happened to her. She never experienced a California earthquake. Her family members were there during the big one in 92, I think it was. Was that the big one that hit LA?
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah, I was around 92.
92, 93ish, around there?
Yeah.
So I mean, they were okay. I think there was one of the family members' houses got mucked up pretty bad, but I think otherwise it was okay. But I mean, this is just what I half remember, and these are people that I never want to speak to again. So I mean, I don't know what it matters to even bring this up in conversation. Maybe I should just cut this out. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It felt messily edited and staged, so it's a scene that I like that it's there. There's some good bits, but I just feel like it's one of the weaker, even though the scope is bigger, which is impressive that they were able to do that. But it just didn't. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me as well as I expected. But I do feel terribly sorry for Stanley, though. I actually have my note. Oh no, Stanley with a little sad face.
Oh, poor Stanley. I promise I'll go to confession. I promise from Laverne. It's great. I really like the way they stage the earthquake scene. I like the little notes of plaster. The way the girls grab onto anything, including their own lights, light supports, to avoid getting killed. My note is actually Stanley, honey.
Aw.
So the girls are all horrified. The boys come through their completely impossible doggy door. Okay, it's impossible that this doggy door works the way Canon wants us to think it works. Because the boys are across the hall from the girls.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like next door to them. There's nothing next door to them, as we can see from the balcony.
Mm-hmm.
How they're accessing this doggy door makes no sense, and indeed the show fades this out, which is a shame. Pretty soon afterwards.
Because I would be happy with it being like a secret tunnel, because there could be some really interesting stories that could happen because of that.
Yeah.
Like, Laverne sneaking guys in and out through there.
Yeah.
And then Lenny comes in and she thinks that's her date for the night. And he just got lost. He's like, I'm sorry, Laverne, I got lost. I think I was sleep trampling or something like that. Some stupid little joke like that. Tons of little things they could have used that for, because but I did like, when they pop out. That being said, it's a cute idea. Yeah. I love how self-aware Lenny is when it's like, I'm going to get an aspirin. And he goes, take two. We signed a 3-year lease.
Yeah. Oh, the fact that the boys think that they're that good in bed that they shook the world with this. And illegal airlines is wow. That line. Illegal airlines.
Hey, so this, I hope I don't cut, but Jeff, you.
Oh God.
Just, I say that, I say this one writer to another, and as a person of color, you.
Oh God, poor Inez and Consuela. Just lying there on Squiggy's rubber sheets.
Ugh. Oh God, that's right. He has rubber sheets. Oh, the implications.
The implications. Just think of the implications for a while.
No, you know what? I don't want to. But let's move on. Okay, they're drinking orange juice, sunny days, upstairs bedroom, raisins joke, all that sunlight. And they basically talk themselves out of leaving because it's like, is it worth it? And it's as we were saying, the conflict gets resolved really quickly.
Yeah. Look what it does. It's kind of like pointless. It's really kind of pointless that they even ask this question of themselves because it happens so late in the episode. We spend so much time on setup and introducing these new characters. It feels like we realized, we don't have a plot here. Mm-hmm. It really feels like, gee, we don't have a plot. Screw it. Here's the plot. The earthquake scared them. And it's like, how do they not know that earthquakes happen in California before moving out there? Everybody knows that. Mm-hmm. They would know that just from watching the movies, reading books.
Yeah.
Also, California isn't always sunny. They do have problems with rain.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oy vey.
Mm-hmm.
And also the idea that poor Stanley would die in Milwaukee. They have indoor heat. I know the heat in the Knapp Street building was crappy. They did have indoor heat.
Oh, certainly.
So it's
Unless
like,
the new
I don't know how
landlord
he
is,
died.
absolutely terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
God, who would
Exactly.
take? I dread to think of who would take over for Edna because my brain, for
Uh,
some reason, thought Hector.
Ooh, Hector. I don't know if she's actually still building to Hector.
Well, what I'm saying is she sells it to somebody else who then sells it to Hector.
Possibly. Possibly. I actually thought maybe that they'd sell it to Uncle Fungi. But I can't remember if he's alive at this point in canon.
I mean, yeah, with Uncle Fungi though, you're gonna have Attack of the Killer Mushrooms all over the place. You're gonna have some weird. See, Uncle Fungi is the kind of guy that, like, I figure, give it 6 months and it's gonna look like something out of like a horror movie. You know, the whole
Possibly.
place is gonna have like all these critters living. It's gonna look like Dark Souls, basically.
Yes.
It's gonna be Lordran. It's gonna be really dank and smelly. There's gonna be giant mushroom monsters, giant fungus monsters. There's gonna be a dragon in the attic, in the top, where Lenny and Squiggy live. There's a freaking dragon moves in. And there's gonna be some chaos witches in the laundry room that you gotta deal with. You have to do some stupid puzzle to get around. Ugh, God, it's rough, man.
Yeah.
But anyway, back into the episode itself. They live through the worst part. It's got to get better soon, and then enter Sonny, showing Sonny.
Shirtless Sonny. Showing his bongos, so to speak.
Yeah.
At least I'm gonna give Gary credit for, even though we've upped the cheesecake quotient via Leslie, we've definitely also upped the beefcake quotient, because now we have lots of shirtless Ed Marinaro.
Mm-hmm.
I will give them credit for, like, also for people who are attracted to people who identify as male. You got Sonny right there, and he's got taking his shirt off again, and look at his muscles. So I gotta give him credit.
Look at my muscles.
I gotta give him credit for
not
not neglecting everybody.
Yeah.
And neglecting and just going for the cheesecake and only the cheesecake.
Yeah, it also feels in line with the show, though, because that was something that made the first 5 seasons charming. Was there would be those handsome dudes that would show up. I mean, they did the Fabian episode. They did. There was a couple episodes with Beefcake Carmine episodes.
Yeah.
There were the chest, touching his chest jokes and things like that. So, but as you're saying, like, if they're gonna get into show more skin, they're gonna make it equal opportunity, which they already got to in the previous episode with the fantasy sequence. I mean, you have two of the most handsome, at the time, two very big deal football players in swim trunks, basically.
Yeah. Oh, we definitely do get to see Carmine, at least, in swim trunks coming up. Carmine, they kind of lean hard on the Carmine is hunky crutch in season 8.
You said, I know you said crutch, but I heard crotch. Anyway, so the tag scene now sets up they got to get Jorbs, and Laverne has a song about their life so far, and then we just kind of wrap it up. It gets all...
Yeah. The ending kind of just goes... Because we all know they're not going to leave. It's a
we know that
Laverne singing, but
Yeah, I don't see... Oh, man. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, because we're going to get pretty close to the ranking. I'm just kind of like... Huh. Yeah. Because, that last... I think because we watched these two first, I think. And I think there was something came up. I just didn't have time, or there was something that came up that we weren't able to go past this point. And I remember feeling afterwards that this was where I started to really get that sense initially of not sure if I like it. Don't hate it, not sure if I like it. Yeah. And I think this, as you're saying, it's sort of like fizzle, like chucking a beautiful candle into a river, fizzling sensation.
Yeah, exactly. The show, this episode in general, just needs a real plot. There's a way to convince the girls that maybe California isn't for them. That isn't, oh no, earthquake. Oh wait, forget it. We can always sweep up. It's they don't really even come to a strong conclusion aside from California's really nice and warm, and we can pick oranges from our orange tree outside.
Yeah. Does the earthquake thing, do these sort of like traits of the negatives of California, the earthquakes, does that ever come back, really?
Other negative aspects of living in California definitely come up, but there's no. This is the first and only earthquake the girls face.
Oh man.
We have a severe lightning storm though. Crime is discussed. Lots of different things happen, but not specifically earthquakes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So I guess, yeah, that feels extra pointless then.
This episode very much suffers because there is no real plot. We're just here to introduce Sonny and Rhonda, to be real, and the premise is the boys have decided to stay
Right.
instead of going back to Milwaukee, and to show that Frank and Edna are fine. There could have been a lot more in this. I feel like if they got an extra hour, we could have combined this with Grand Opening. We could have combined this with Grand Opening and made a single linear continuity, a single linear episode, and taking care of a lot of things and made this episode B feel a lot less pointless. But that's just me.
I totally agree. I feel like it's there's something inefficient about it. I think is what it comes down to. Like it's efficient. Say what?
Mildly time wasty in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we need to introduce these characters. We definitely do. We definitely need to establish the apartment. We need to establish the boys are staying, sure. But and obviously the earthquake needs to happen because this is Laverne. Surely we need some kind of physical humor in here. But giving them a grand crisis of faith doesn't really make sense. That's the weak spot. The weak spot is that there's no real reason for them to ask questions. It's so much easier. It's much better established in Grand Opening when Laverne admits she feels like a failure because she can't find a job and she misses Milwaukee. So, those are reasons to want to go home.
Exactly, yeah, because, I mean, we never had time to discuss, like she's leaving Terry Buttafuoco, she's leaving regular dates that she has. I mean, the last episode had her with a regular guy named Ray that she had no problem bringing home at 2 a.m. that pretty much implied something was going to happen in the living room. More than first, maybe even second base was going to take place.
Well, far beyond that, considering what Laverne admits to in the next episode. She's leaving behind Randy's grave. She's leaving behind her mother's grave.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Like those elements get completely... And I think I'm so glad you voiced those things. I knew there was something emotional that was hitting me for some reason about that move. Yeah.
She's leaving behind everything. She's been there since she's like 6 or so.
Yeah, exactly.
Shirley's been there her whole life. Her mother is already over in California. That never gets brought up and we never see her.
I hate that. God, I freaking hate that.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You are the only person who finds that really annoying, that they never use Barb again. They could have. They could have just called Pat Carroll. She's right there.
She's right there. You have a perfectly good Pat Carroll right there. Come on. Come on.
Shirley has, aside from Carmine, fewer ties to Milwaukee than Laverne does. But once her pop's gone, it's like, okay, I can just up and leave, but, she has deeper roots and deeper niche there in a way. When it comes to family, when it comes to, past ties.
Right.
Both of Shirley's parents are alive and elsewhere. Her brothers are all alive. Laverne has, actual, graves that she could go to in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And think, people that she's gonna miss. They got a whole friends group, all the Angora Debs, even
totally.
Rosie.
Even Rosie, exactly, yeah. And but I think that's, I think I mentioned this a bit before, and I know you and I have talked about this since we started season 6. This feels like a reboot of the show / trying to completely revamp everything. Like, it feels as if it's trying to create this clean slate, and given that one of Laverne and Shirley's strengths was the emotional connection, not to say that it was about being samey, it was about the development of these characters over time. It actually did some impressive work developing all of these characters, Frank and Edna and, Shirley and Laverne and Lenny and Squiggy and Carmine and even Rosie, and Rosie and just all of these characters. Yeah. Well, another person that even got a bit of development was Terry Buttafuoco, because didn't her job change when they brought her in?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, she's mostly been in the background throughout the show, but yeah.
So discarding those elements means, for me, like as a viewer, that feels like a breach of trust. That feels like, why should I get invested at this point when I can't trust that as soon as you feel the ratings are starting to go down, you're going to jump. So anything I have now invested in is going to disappear. And
That's pretty much the nature of the beast of television, in a way, though.
yeah, and that's, which, I mean, this is why I have said for, years, and I've said this for years of the podcast too, because I think by the time this goes up, it'll be late 2022, I think. I don't like that about television and sitcoms. I don't like that sort of they're being fluid and changeable is fine, depending on whether that is clearly an element of the intent and elements of the strengths. And I feel like the writers and the showrunners on Laverne Shirley didn't always understand what the real strengths of the show were, and it has taken years to fully understand what made it. Like, as you're saying, Gary felt that the move to California was going to work, and it did work from a ratings perspective, but from an artistic perspective, it so far has not proven to be as fruitful as a move to New York would, which Penny and other actors understood completely that was going to artistically work. So
and then, to be frank, the New York move probably would have worked too. It probably would have goosed up the ratings, because they were back in the rating slot that needed to be in.
Exactly.
They should have never moved the show.
Totally.
They thought, well, this is our number one show. Our number one show can lead off a block of programs. Trouble is, they did not match Laverne and Shirley with like-minded sitcoms and shows.
Mm-hmm.
Benson and Barney Miller and Soap are all way, way, way more sophisticated than Laverne and Shirley. If they paired it with like Mork and Mindy and a couple other shows that are like that, maybe it would have done better. But there's, if I'm a kid, it's the 1970s. Why the heck am I? Yeah, it's 1980s. I'm a kid. I love Laverne and Shirley. I'm gonna watch Laverne and Shirley and then turn the channel, which is what I'm amazed that people didn't do.
Yeah.
But it turns out people were turning on Benson and then watching the rest of the night. They were skipping Laverne and Shirley, which is weird.
Yeah.
I still don't know what the heck turned the audience off. It's just, I don't know. Whenever I think of that, it's just a puzzlement. What was America thinking?
Well, you put it on your time machine to-do list.
Yeah, sure thing. I get to talk
and also,
Gary Marshall into getting Laverne and Lenny together.
It's like you come out with this like giant like like a binder, like a Leslie Knope style binder.
Yeah. This is what'll work. This will work. This will work better than anything you get planned. Because trust me, what I've seen from the future, it's gonna suck.
That all being said, we're starting to get back to normal. We're starting to create this new normal.
Yeah.
And again, I don't hate it, but I will say I'm definitely homesick so far.
Yeah. Well, like Laverne. There's some really, really great episodes coming up. There's one that really gets underneath my teeth, and then even more really great episodes. We'll get there very soon. Next batch. In fact, I'm going to encourage that we watch one extra episode after the last episode of the batch of 4, because, the episode that we're going to watch last in this new package is divisive. I will say that. It's divisive, yeah, and the fandom and beyond. Yeah.
Future me, put it in the onion knife from Dark Souls there, please.
the show does recover though. Anyway, I do believe we're at ranking time then.
Yeah. I think now that I've had some time to simmer on this a little bit, 6.5. I would like to give it another 7, but the fizzling of that third act is too much for me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of these components could have been handled so much better. In some respects, I would have almost have been okay with the leaving of Milwaukee and coming to LA having been a flashback episode that was completely dedicated.
Yeah.
And just jump into this new normal and just say, cool, this is everything that's new, and deal with it. But I would have been okay with that. But it's it feels like it's taking a little too long. That being said, why is it a 6.5? Ed and Leslie are spectacular.
Yeah.
Frank and Edna are
Yeah.
the cutest here. It's I mean, it feels like they're getting like a second honeymoon period, which is
Yes.
adorable.
Yeah.
And tuning a guitar with the sound of someone gurgling their mouthwash.
Uh, this is a solid 6 point. Probably 6.6 for me. I cannot make it a 7 because the last act fizzles. Everything after the earthquake scene, it feels like we're struggling for conflict. We're searching for some reason for the girls to consider leaving. It could be just as easy as I miss my mom. I miss in Shirley's case, or no, whatever. I miss my dad. I miss my brother. Whatever. It could be anything, and it would be better than, oh no, an earthquake. How scary, an earthquake. It just makes the girls feel juvenile when they've done so much work growing up.
It's like you have it's like you're not gonna be scared of ninjas for the rest of your life because you just see one ninja on the street and they go, yeah, and that's it.
They literally threw somebody out of a train to save their life last season. I don't think an earthquake would be scary.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like at this point, it just. I love the boys' part, even though they're boinking women who can't speak English, and hopefully they get consent in English. I'm going to presume they got consent in English. Jeff!
God, Jeff, no.
I'm going to presume that they did. And that's why. I'm going to presume that they liked it.
I mean, that's why it wasn't even entering my mind as a question, is because I just made that assumption off the bat that, Lenny and Squiggy would, because to them, I almost feel like if you were to say, like, well, did they consent to it? And they'd be sort of offended, like, you think we wouldn't? Like, no. Like, they at least, at least they consented to getting drunk first.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. The boys' parts are funny. I love this introduction for Rhonda. Rhonda becomes an more interesting, more nuanced character coming up. Sonny is perfectly nice, perfectly inoffensive. I like Laverne's struggling folk singer gimmick, which is what I'm going to call it. It's a gimmick. It doesn't, it surfaces on and off until season 8. It becomes a part of her character, and I like it just fine. The girls, establishing the home is very nice. In general, everything but that weird last act, oh no, we need conflict feeling works. So it's an okay episode. It's not as necessary as the season premiere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I felt the premiere, because of the things like the fantasy sequence, the banter in the break room, that was a overall strong. The high points were stronger and carried it past its problems better, and the lows in the first episode didn't hit as hard.
Yeah, exactly. It needs more of an emotional punch. I think they're trying way too hard to glad handle the audience into accepting the move. In a way.
Right. Yeah, it's a hard sell.
Yeah, it's a hard sell. Next episode, that stops happening. We settle into the new normal. It still takes 3 more episodes for the new premise of this season to settle in.
Okay, well, I guess we'll just have to settle in for that. All right.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, and fortunately, because there's some funny stuff ahead.
Yeah, there's some funny stuff. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, I hope maybe now that we're in Hollywood, we can get into the picture business. But is that it for today's episode? Though we got our rankings, we got our notes. I think I'm done. I'm all.
Yes, indeed.
I guess I did want to point out one of my favorite lines. Everything's off the shelves, even the shelves.
That's a cute line. My favorite one definitely is a garbage disposal, but we're so young. It's a great one.
Oh, that's good. All right.
Yeah.
So that everything for but I think with our favorite quotes and all that, that is it for today.
Yes, indeed, dude.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining night after night, partner. And if you yourself would like to get to know us a little better, well, then you could just go on to Night After Night Pod on Facebook, Tumblr, WordPress, Patreon, YouTube, or whatever's. Or search for Night After Night PC on Twitter. and you will be able to get in touch with us. You also can reach us directly at nightafterNightPod@gmail.com if you would like to send in questions or any sort of other things like that, or just leave us a comment below in the YouTube version. And if you're of the persuasion that wishes to, make sure to keep an eye out for other pods, keep looking out for the other pods. It helps support us. And we also like to give a special shout out to our wonderful patrons on Patreon, as we try to do as much as we can, because they are wonderful, wonderful people. And but I think that'll do it for this episode. Yeah. So, Lisa, it's kind of weird. Why is there a loincloth in my closet right now?
Wonga wonga! The girls tried to work their way into a Troy Donahue picture in a desperate attempt at meeting the star. But they discover that life on set is a lot more difficult than they dreamed of. This is Studio City.
You mean we get to actually have some real behind-the-scenes movie within the show action?
Yeah, just like we got in You Ought to Be in Pictures. No way! There's gotta be more Hollywood stuff coming on. Yes, indeed. Wonga wonga.
Wonga wonga. Far out. Cool. Well, hopefully you'll join us for that next time, and we'll see you then.
Remember, you're never too old to own a garbage disposal, kids. Bye.